Hello world, good day and good game. You may have heard some crazy rumors in the last hours or days about the CEO of Nexon saying something bad about the game. How dares he? But let me tell you that everything is okay. Because all those crazy articles here, they are just pumping up thin air. Let me show you what actually happened. So on March the 31st, they had a capital markets briefing. This is the second capital markets briefing, I think. You do this for your shareholders to talk about your strategy for your games with your IPs. You talk a bit about the growth. You of course talk about money and the retention of everything, your products, your customer and whatsoever. This has been presented from the executive Söderlund, the CEO Lee, the CFO Uemura, and was followed by a Q&A session. This whole presentation took 2 hours almost, and there were 2 sentences about TFD. And the media goes wild over it. Söderlund had a big presentation there, and after him the CEO Lee said some words. All his presentation was, good afternoon, here's our pipeline, 6 new games are coming. He was talking about that Nexon has quite a unique ability to sustain relationships with players. For something like 15 minutes already passed, and then he also talked about retention challenges, which happens with Dungeon and Fighter Mobile, but also with First Descendant. And those are the few seconds where he said that First Descendant had a strong launch, but no staying power. And he said that these are design issues that are not fixed with a patch. They require structural changes to game mechanics. That's all he said. And then there was half an hour more about games with good retention, some examples of famous games of them, with even more details on the success of those games. And in the end he talked about partnerships with Tencent, Blizzard, their monolake intelligence, and once again he put the focus on player relationships, that is what they want. That's it. Almost 2 sentences in a 2-hour presentation. Come on. And after that you might have heard the wildest stories, but there is more. Even a game with bad retention can still be the top game of your company. In early 2024, half the games sold on PC and console and the other half was on mobile devices. Most of the market of Nexon is of course in Korea and China, and those were their top titles: EA Sports FC, MapleStory, Counter-Strike Online, Dave the Diver, Good Game, and many more. And in early 2024, when First Descendant was just about to be born, they expected an all-time high quarterly revenue just driven by First Descendant. And what can I say? It almost did. In the mid-2024, still half the games was on PC, biggest market was Korea and China, but suddenly almost 20% of the revenue comes from North America, Europe and the rest of the world. First Descendant made a significant contribution to the money they made. Only for North America and Europe, 75% was just from First Descendant. So that's their top game for PC in mid-2024. And for the rest of the world, it's still on number 2. This game almost doubled their revenue on those continents. But they also said that Season 1 did not really meet the player expectations. That is a quote, by the way. And they expected First Descendant to continue like this, or maybe to increase even more. But then, end of 2024, they have seen that First Descendant did less than expected in Korea. And the most interesting quote is, the decline in traffic is attributable to the lack of content. That is what Nexon said. Even though First Descendant did not grow, it helped with a record-breaking year. They made even more money than ever before. And there are still other games that eat all that money up, like Dungeons and Fighter or the Finals, and one part of the MapleStory didn't perform that well in the end of 2024. The expectation for First Descendant was, it grows even more, let's go, which it didn't. In the early 2025, so last year, the Season 2 did not really, but still they had more active users and active concurrent users. So it was not steady, it was slightly below their expectations. So they expected a bit more of it, but still, look at this. For North America and Europe, First Descendant is still on number 3. First Descendant is still one of the games that gives the most money to them in early 2025. And then they were thinking like, well, Season 3 Breakthrough will be great. And yes, as expected, they tripled the revenue compared to last quarter, which is good. But all of that got eaten by some other game, which did not perform that well. And at that point, in the middle of 2025, they already expected that First Descendant will not grow anymore. No, it will even get less, significantly less. And they were right. right. Shortly after, mid-2025, First Descendant may have heard the expected revenue compared to last year, and they also pumped some money into the marketing, so the marketing costs increased just for First Descendant. But look at this, even though First Descendant was such a poor dog in their portfolio, it is still on number 1 for North America and Europe, and it is on number 3 for the rest of the world. It still makes more money than the other games. But they still expected that First Descendant will have even less revenue than before. So for the rest of 2025, it will not make that much money. That is what they thought. And in the end of 2025, they had some really strong growth again. Look at that small peak up there. All the other games made a big jump there at the end of 2025. And as you see, First Descendant is one of them. It's on number 3 for North America and Europe, and suddenly North America and Europe made up 31% of their revenue. So after looking all of these numbers, I would say, hey, First Descendant is still up in the top 3 games over and over again. I think we are safe. We may just have 4,000, 5,000 players online on Steam, but I think we're good. Someone came into my stream and asked, hey, do you think that they will shut down First Descendant? There are rumors. And I was like, yeah, someday they will shut it down, but not today. Because what no one talks about is another thing that Nexon said. They said, hey, we launched some games in 2023 and some of them really made it, and those that made it will get some regional expansion and content updates over and over to push them even more. And one of that will be First Descendant. Even though content updates means more skins in First Descendant, so let's wait for those structural changes to game mechanics that they promised. So what the CEO said ain't that bad. It's more like a promise how the game will get better tomorrow, next week, this year, I hope. Can we have invasions back, please? I miss them.